Welcome to episode number 68 of the Canadian Prepperpodcast. We're recording on May 17th, 2020. My name is Eric. I'm the host of the show based in Southern Ontario. Hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, and computer geek. As a first responder, witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during major events, and I started a small preparedness company to help people get prepared for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
My name is Ian, and I live on Vancouver Island. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, sports shooter, and my farm's designated handyman.
I'm Alan, safety trainer, first responder, security expert, and overall safety nerd. And if you want to help support the show and keep the Canadian Prepper Podcast on the air, please buy a t-shirt. There it is, at www.rapidsurvival.com. All proceeds help keep the lights on and the backup generator fueled.
All right, if you enjoy the show, please take a few minutes to like us on Facebook and submit a review on iTunes. Also, we want your feedback, good or bad, or just if there's a topic you want us to cover. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
All right, so we've got some secluded content for you in this episode. We're going to start off with some preparedness-related news articles. Then we'll get into what we've done to help our preparedness since the last episode. And then we're going to get into the main topic, designing our ideal bug-out location.
Two major things on my news feeds today. There's a snowbird crashed in Kamloops, 2 aboard. One sadly did not survive the crash. The video shows some black smoke just before the bird dove. The second person aboard was serious but not life-threatening, and it actually crashed in a residential area, which is, lucky that it was only the people on board that were affected. And then the second thing that's been occupying my news feed for the last 24 hours is an explosion in Los Angeles. It leaves, depending on which report you read, anywhere from 10 to 12 firefighters in serious to critical condition. They were evacuating off a roof when the contents of the building let off. The working theory is that it was butane used in the process to extract THC and produce honey oil. So that was there were some pretty significant tactical firefighting challenges there, and as they were evacuating the roof, it engulfed those members that were too close to the building. So that's some scary video if you look it up.
That's destroying the theory that weed never hurt anybody. No, just sorry, it's too soon. Sorry.
The weed didn't hurt anybody in that particular case, but
it's sad. I was kind of wondering what the explosion was about, because I saw that last night just as I was hitting the sack, and it was like an explosion. Like, okay, and then the fact that they already had firefighters down, they wouldn't explain what was going on. It was like, oh, that doesn't sound good at all. So very interesting.
Yeah, it was. So it's something to do with the process of actually extracting the THC from cannabis into oil, and that was that's why there was butane there. And it's still far too early to speculate as to how the fire started or why or anything, but something went really wrong inside the building, and it was actually just the kind of situational awareness of the firefighters on the roof. All the audio from the radios is saying, well, something's not right, we're going to get off the roof here. And as they were evacuating, something went wrong. So it could have been significantly worse, but it was pretty bad in general. And we're going to learn more about it, and hopefully some good will come of this, and things will be safer afterwards.
Yeah, say that about that snowbird crash. Old airplane, but who knows if that was a factor or not. But sad to see, no matter what. Yeah,
well, there was somebody filming it, right? They took off from Kamloops Airport. They got about 5 seconds in the air, and the one turned back. I would imagine he turned back to land. As he came back, it stalled. It looks like it stalled, and then as it went nose down, there was some black, and then it dropped real fast.
Yeah, no, it's not good at all. Well, hopefully we'll find out what happened in the long term.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyways, as for myself, the CSSA put out another news release. That's the Canadian Shooting Sports Association, and it was basically how the RCMP has, by ordering council, well, not ordering council per se, but with the powers they were awarded under C-71, they're allowed to redesignate some guns into prohibited status. So,
has that been happening?
Yeah, so it's been ongoing. Without news release, they just add more stuff to the FRT on the daily. So there was like a bunch of bolt-action rifles last week for long-distance shooting, like the SHATAC series of guns, as well as a couple other ones. And they just on the go, like people were watching it happen live last week. They were just like changing like 410 semi-auto shotguns that have a detachable mag and a bunch of other stuff just randomly going prohib. Yeah.
So when the police are making the rules, doesn't that defeat the whole concept of democracy?
Well, it's what they're making the rules and enforcing them. That makes it a police state.
That's it. Yep.
Oh, okay. Anyway, other news, property news. So I guess it's a record-breaking fall in home sales. No shocker when nobody can leave the house to go see houses. 51% drop in home sales in Vancouver. So if you're looking to buy, it's probably a buyer's market right now.
But prices have only gone down 1%.
Yeah, which is weird. I think people would be getting a little more antsy if they need to sell or whatever. But nope. I was looking in Alberta too at some acreages, and people have actually raised their prices from last year, which is pretty bold considering the oil patch the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, but they also don't want new people coming in, right? If they want to raise the price and keep it local, remove the competition.
There you go. That's all I had.
There you go. Well, I stole this article from you, Ian, in the pre-show. But so government didn't have PPE stockpiled. Shocker there.
Surprise.
I think we've seen that in repetitive news cycles that government's been trying to get PPE from all over the place, and a lot of the PPE that they have brought in from overseas has been tested out and found to not do what they were hoping it would do. So hopefully some lessons have been learned here and new plans can be put in place, but appropriately titled here, shocker.
Lessons have been learned, but I don't think that means anything's going to change. I don't have that much faith in our government.
Well, the last thing they did is they bought some of these masks after SARS blew through town, and then they didn't change anything out or update them, so they were all expired when they actually had to use them. And elastics were snapping, and they threw a bunch of the trash, and they gave away a bunch to China, and they never got them back, and it was just a big problem.
I read an article earlier today saying a lot of the KN95 masks that they did bring in were found to filter maybe 1% versus the 95% they're supposed to filter. So, yeah, not good.
So I tried to keep mosquitoes out. I was trying to keep mosquitoes off your property with a chain link fence, I guess, at that point.
That's a good way of, it's a good analogy.
Reminds me of a guy I worked with years ago. He was a security guard. He had a notebook from just like from the dollar store, just one of those like spiral bound like 3x5 notebooks. Wrote Triform on the front of it because he thought that actually meant something. That's a Triform notebook.
Okay.
Yep.
So the name brand makes
that's kind of what it reminds me of. Like it says KN95, so it must be good. Well, no, KN95 is just what it's called.
Yep. What do you do? Hopefully some lessons learned there, but like the panel kind of alluded to, we don't have some high hopes for it.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, hey, hopefully, but we'll find out during the next pandemic, I suppose.
Hopefully sooner.
Okay, let's move into what we've done lately for preps. So for myself, I finally broke out the brass cleaner and cleaned up some 9mm and some 223, and it came out nice and sparkly. So that was good. Put her in, let her run for 2 hours, and drank some beer and watched it spin. It was good. What else?
Strangely hypnotic, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the beer helped.
Yeah, exactly.
Also started planning out well repair because the well cap here, I noticed over the winter, I guess with some of the weight of the snow being on top of it, started to crack and starting to expose the well a little bit. So I got a new cap to put in, but it just showed up the other day. So I cracked it open, had a look at what I need to do, realized I needed a few more parts. Those showed up today. So I'll be able to take that on tomorrow, and hopefully I'll have water by the end of the day when I'm done. So we'll see. But I got to disconnect all the electrical and stuff with the pump and rerun the wires back to the cap. So that'll be fun. But it's got to be done. And redid the network here. So tore everything apart, put a new server in. I can back up all my stuff now. And I've got a nice little Plex Media server running. So in the event that the interweb or something happens to go down and I need some kind of entertainment, well, I've still got it in-house now. I don't have to rely on Netflix.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fancy.
Well, as for myself, I was actually working the whole last week. I really didn't have a whole lot of time at home here. I just got home yesterday, so but I had a lot of time to sit in hotel rooms, so I was bored. So after talking with Hughes last week on the last podcast, I decided to get into checking out what this drone business was all about. So Yeah, I did a little research, and actually, it's like Hughes was saying, it's a very good idea for reconnaissance and aerial photography, and it's kind of a new hobby that doesn't involve shooting. So I thought I'd check it out, and yeah, I studied for the exam in about 20 minutes, and now I'm a drone pilot.
Well, look at that.
Yeah, so it's you can challenge the exam for $10 and give it a shot, and the pass mark is like 65% or something, so it's pretty easy to do. And then yeah, so it was good. And then I did the second exam as well, but that if I want to become an advanced drone pilot, I got to get somebody to actually watch me fly it around. I've never flown one before, so they'll have to wait.
Can you just live stream it? Do we count as someone watching?
I suppose, but you have to be a certified.
It has to be like somebody who's already certified.
Yeah, I guess certified drone examiner or something. But yeah, it was pretty good. So it was lots of stuff to study for, but it's a good way to kill time. But yeah, for the just the surveying the property, surveying the area around your house, that's pretty good, and it's pretty straightforward. So I put a video link in the YouTube there that basically shows one of the drone types I was interested in buying because it's got like super good video feed and it's very easy to control, and it's got like a 25-minute flying time. It's crazy. So that's pretty good. So if I spend as much time, as I did on drone piloting as I did on maybe on my ham exam, maybe I'd pass my ham next. But I don't know.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah. But yeah, so like the ham definitely has to be done too. So I got to get on that. And then came back to concentrate on some wood products here. I got to denail some woods from the old chicken coop there. And let's see here. I got a bunch of wood put in the woodshed for next season, and that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. It's only 3 pages this week. That's what happens when you're working, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't do a whole ton this week. Got some property stuff done. We're laying out a new garage. We're going to expand the garage about 10 feet back and give us a little bit more indoor space. Spent a couple of days hiking yesterday and today. Did some really basic house things, but we did make a really concentrated trip to the grocery store to stock up on the pantry. So that was our preparedness trek for the week.
Oh, very nice. How was the grocery store? Looking stocked or lineups?
I mean, we're in a small town and it's a small store, so it always looks kind of busy. There were a couple of fresh things that weren't there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they were a widespread shortage. It may have just been that they hadn't been put out yet because we were there fairly early in the morning. Right. Didn't notice anything like there. There was plenty of paper products. There were plenty of canned goods. There was plenty of plenty of baking supplies. I didn't see anything specifically that was missing. Definitely nothing on our list, and just about everything we bought was kind of long-term storage. So it wasn't wasn't anything that was of things that I would expect to be missing. They were all there.
Ah, good.
Yep.
Awesome. Starting to see the same thing here. Lineups, but everything's in the store. You just got to wait to get in.
Yeah, I refused to wait to get into a store. I drove by the Canadian Tire. I did a phone ahead. I placed the order online to pick it up, and I drove through the parking lot at Canadian Tire, and there were lineups of 25 people to get in the store. I'm just not interested. I have no desire to partake in that.
Yeah.
I would much rather just call ahead. They send me an email when the order's ready. I pull up, and yeah, it takes away from some of the shopping experience, but man, is it ever cheaper to go to Canadian Tire that way.
Oh yeah.
Don't find all the little stuff along the way that I just have to have.
Yeah, I think they rely on that. But...
Absolutely.
All right, let's move into the main topic.
All right, so yeah, guys, jump in here anytime. I just started doing some random listing of everything I kind of wanted, but I mean, for me, it's my bug out location would also be the place I would live in. Hopefully, that'd be the ideal.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of a bug out location, though?
Yes and no.
Isn't the idea of a bug out location that, like, if you have to leave your primary spot, then you have somewhere to go?
Well, see, like, again, what do you need to bug out for? Like, unless the place is on fire, basically, it's like it's pretty hard to justify it.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, right? Like if you're in, you're on Vancouver Island, you've got wildfires, right? That's a really real threat. If your house was all of a sudden in the path of a fire, you gotta have somewhere to go, right?
True, but I can't afford a second bug out location.
There's nothing about this that's practical. This is all about designing it, not actually building it.
Fair enough. Fair point. So, number one, for a bug out location, I want to have a water feature. So I don't care if it's oceanfront, lakefront, I mean, my preference is like a spring with an altitude drop for not just a mini or micro hydro, but also maybe something you could make a fish pond with a little stream feed. So basically, you control the water source because nobody's upstream of you and they can't pollute the waters. And yeah, you got it to yourself. That was my first thing.
I would. Water feature would be nice.
Water feature would be nice. I would say the fresh water is significantly better than salt water because you can use it for irrigation and crop production.
Yep, that's true. For me, the salt water is just ocean access with the seafood associated, right? But
that's an excellent feature to have as well.
Yeah, so I'd say like a water feature of any sort would be the ideal, but I mean, you pay the premium for that too, right? So, or if you're just finding a bug out location, maybe you just scout ahead of time. Flatland, yeah, you want to ideally have a bunch of flatland with for gardening and just easy to build stuff on. But if you had a small rise on one side of the property for either a radio tower, the water gravity feed, like I was mentioning, so you can actually pressurize some hoses with gravity versus electricity. That's certainly a thing.
And it's easy to see people coming too.
Yeah, exactly. Or you could just use that drone, right?
Yeah, but that's it. You can only see people 25 minutes at a time.
That's right. Okay, for the next 25 minutes, everybody sit still.
Nobody move. I'm charging the drone.
Yeah. So that was the one thing because what my biggest regret here is just having too steep a property and just not very good, I guess, farming options.
Well, then you just have to switch to raised bed, right? Which is probably lower yield, but it's nothing's impossible.
Yeah, raised beds work good on this, but they don't work good on this because then you have to like a 5-foot raised bed and a 0 raised bed on one side, and it still doesn't work. Trust me, because then everything just leaks out the bottom part, and it's just like even with the retaining stuff, it just doesn't work.
Gravity gets you every time.
Oh, gravity, and when you're sitting on top of a rock, it's basically glacial till. It just the soil just goes into the rocks, disappears, and you have to like keep topping and completely rebuilding it every year. So it's crazy.
Oh wow.
Yep.
So even if you put gravel on top, like drainage gravel on top, that wouldn't help you.
Not with the 48 inches of rain here every year. It's like seriously, you cannot retain any soil. That's why it's been rocky for thousands of years.
That makes sense.
Anyway, next thing I had was good neighbors. So like whether they be house, bug out location, or whatever, you don't want neighbors that are gonna like as soon as you leave, they're gonna like try and rip you off or complain about everything you're doing. Or but you want them to be able to at least look out for what you're doing, and just good neighbors in general. Maybe even like-minded people would be ideal.
Or no neighbors.
That would absolutely be the ideal. You can get them on board.
Yep,
perfect.
Well, I mean, no neighbors is a problem too, because then if some like shit rat or from from somewhere else comes along and decides to empty out your bug out location of all your food caches and everything else, or your fuel tanks or whatever. And you don't have good neighbors that are like, hey, I saw a buddy with license plate X on board come and visit your property, and he carted away a bunch of stuff. Then,
or even better, hey, I saw a buddy with license plate X. He's in my garage now. You want to go talk to him?
Yeah, and that's what the good neighbors are for. So
we are not advocating kidnapping random people.
Just temporarily detaining them until the proper authorities or the neighbor returns home can be called.
Citizens arrest, right? That's the thing.
And under Section 494, it says deliver to a peace officer forthwith.
As soon as practicable, yep.
Yes.
So unincorporated. The last thing you want to do is bug out to some place that's got like some pretentious city worker there trying to tell you what you can and can't do, and a bunch of bylaws like getting in your way of doing what you want to do. So if you buy a bug out location, you don't want to have it to the point where you have to have higher property taxes, a bunch of bylaws to deal with, and no shooting regulations or no hunting regulations.
Yep. Unincorporated's key.
Man, that's a long ways away from me.
You have to give me 1 sec, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. Next note on Ian's list here is backing onto Crown land, which again would be ideal, but not sure if it's practical or not. Again, for where I am, that's like the nearest Crown land is probably a 9-hour drive, and would take me like at least to the outskirts of Toronto.
Well, yeah, the reason I mentioned that is because it's like I guess in bad times it wouldn't really matter either. But if you're going to use your bug out location as a hunting property and or a vacation property, at least you got the option to go out hunting and go to a place where there might actually be a fair amount of wildlife. So basically, that's for the kind of if you had neighbors on two sides but Crown land behind you, that's kind of the ideal.
That's absolutely perfect. Yep.
Yeah. A basement because storage, and also because of if you had to do a makeshift shelter of some sort, either for cold weather, nuclear terror or whatever. It's like you want to have
see the episode on nuclear fallout.
Have the field expedient bomb shelter, or anything. But basements are like so great for everything from storage to like temperature preservation. There's just so many good reasons to have a good solid basement, and it's one thing I've really missed. Yeah.
But basements are only good if they don't leak. So it's got to be a basement that's appropriate to the property.
Yeah, I guess if the power goes out and all the sump pumps kick off, and before you know it, you got 3 inches of water in your basement. That's no good either, right? So
you got a swimming pool at least.
Well, it's true, but then all the ammo you got sitting there in the ammo cans is gonna be underwater, and it's just a mess. So,
well, from what I learned earlier this week, add some soap, add some Lemmy Shine. The brass will be clean.
Swirl the whole basement. Actually, I was actually deadly curious, so I threw a live round in the tumbler because I discovered this live round on the range, and I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be no good anyway. I don't want to shoot it." And then, sure enough, I opened it up. I didn't put it in my gun, obviously, but I opened it up, and sure enough, there's water inside the round. So even with a crimp on it, water is gonna get in. So anyway, a shop. So a shop is a grandiose term, but I mean, it might be anything from a covered tarp shelter to a full-on shop with a car lift. But anything you can do repairs out of the weather is kind of ideal. So even if it's just like a expedient shelter that will just allow you to like get things done in torrential rain, snow, or whatever, I think that's kind of key for doing repairs, especially if you're going to be less reliant and working on your own.
Yep. And I think it's important that your shop be big enough to fit your vehicles in. And the other advantage to it is that if you're cooped up with somebody for any length of time, say 9 weeks over a forced internment, self-isolation, having the ability to go somewhere else, and just get away from that person goes a long way to family relations and preventing people being tied up in the garage waiting for the authorities.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also mentioned underground storage capable, which is different than a basement. Basically because, basically what I went on is I want a bunch of soil on the property. And the reason for that is good farmland, obviously. But you can actually build your underground storage container of whatever you want. Like if you want to put a shipping container 10 feet down and prop up the center, because engineering-wise they suck. But I'm just saying, like, you want to have the option to build your bomb shelter, put your caches in the property, have everything, like even like a shallow well would, if you had lots of soil on the property. It's huge.
So rather than a sea can, because there's always been discussion among the prepper community about burying a sea can. Cool. Yeah. Better than that is to put an 8-foot galvanized tube, like a drainage pipe.
Yeah, so they build one of those $100,000 shelters the guys like custom make for people. That's all it is. Is basically he just welds it up and then puts a little bling inside, and he's on his way. Yeah. Because obviously a sphere is better than a square when it comes to handling pressure of soil, right?
Exactly. It'll disperse the load around the sides. You just got to put an end on each. Put an end, cap it in, and then you can build whatever the hell you want inside and take your time doing it.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. So that's the sea can. It's they always say it's going to collapse on the inside, on the top, basically because of all the weight of the soil. It just doesn't work that well.
So if you put a sea can in a tube, I wonder how that would go. Might have to research that. We need an engineer.
Yeah, that's right.
Of the listeners out there, are there any engineers?
And can you help us test this?
Could you help us test this? Yep.
Well, Sean and Ham, so far you guys are describing my house well. Yeah. I'm jealous.
Yeah, we kind of hate you. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit though. It's all good.
We're going to need GPS coordinates just to verify this, and not to show up at random if there's an emergency, for the record.
If you could give us like a Google Maps location, that'd be great. So greenhouse, I was mentioning, it doesn't have to be in place and built already, but even just have the materials for one, because if you are bugging out there and you want to get early started on seeds or grow stuff in marginal growing conditions, then you want to have a greenhouse all set up.
Absolutely. And I think my notes included the ability to grow hydroponically, which, again, not an expert on it. We've discussed it kind of, but we decided we needed to find an expert on that to learn more, because growing outdoors is awesome, except when you have a terrible growing season and then you need another solution. So growing indoors gives you the ability to grow year round and gives you the ability to control all the things, and then you don't also have to go outside. And when somebody else is flying a drone overhead, they don't see that you have huge volumes of crops that they want to come steal. So keep it gray.
Who would be flying the drone overhead?
Some nosy guy
Yeah.
trying to do surveys of the neighborhood and stuff like that.
I mean, Ian and I are physically far enough apart that his 25 minutes flying time aren't going to affect me, but
Yeah,
you know, if Ian's got that idea, somebody else has it too.
That's right. So wood on the property, whether it be in the form of trees or even stored wood or whatever, you want to make sure you have a steady wood supply for not just heat, but shelter, cooking, everything else, but also, just good shade, concealment, everything else. So wood on the property would be fantastic. And then also would feed your wood stove, which you should have in place.
That's
And then
kind of key.
a wood stove that has a flat top so you can actually cook on it too.
Yep.
That's right. Southern exposure, I wanted to mention that as well.
Absolutely. Best for growing.
Solar, good for growing.
Yep.
Lots of light, less electricity required. I can't go
Yep.
wrong.
I was going to throw on the list there a good solar setup.
Yep. I had solar and wind on my list. Hunting friendly. We talked about the bylaws and the crown land for that exact reason. Of course, if things get really, really, really out of hand, it doesn't matter anymore. But you want to plan for the worst and hope for the best. So plan that we're going to plan for Ian's house to catch fire in a wildfire, and he just has to go somewhere. He still wants to hunt, but the rule of law will still be in place. So.
Well,
and I like just the idea of having somewhere to get away when times are good, and then you can utilize it all the time because then you're comfortable with the area that you're in. You know the area, you know what's there,
Absolutely.
and you know how to utilize everything. And like, really, who's going to shell out money to buy a property, build it up, and then just let it sit, right? Just in case,
Communist.
you may as well have something that you can go to and use on a regular basis. But as well, it can serve as your bug out location.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, if it's hunting friendly and bylaw friendly, then you're good to go even in regular times, and you won't feel like you've wasted your money doing it, right?
Well, it goes back to knowing your gear, right? We preach that all the time of know your stuff, know your gear, know how to use it. Same with your property. You may as well know it, know the ins and outs of it, know how to get around it, know what's there, know what's not, and it'll serve you well if things happen, right?
Everything around it too, right? I mean, it's one thing to know your property; it's another thing to know your neighbor's property and that, the lot down the road and the crown land behind you. Just get familiar with everything around.
Absolutely.
Cool. Next thing I had was fenced for animals. So you want to keep the deer out, keep the dogs in.
I don't want to keep the deer out.
I was going to say, do you want to keep the deer in?
But I say fenced for animals. So basically, what I'm saying is, like, out of your little garden, you want to keep the deer out.
Yes.
So welcome on the property anytime. As a matter of fact, I would even put some excess green material out there to make sure they feel welcome. But especially in times that are tough. But anyways, but also your dog's in. So if you are visiting during normal times, you don't want to be a jerk neighbor. So you just have proper fencing, whether it be just rabbit fences, deer fences, perimeter fences. Of course, is a big thing, which might keep those nosy neighbors out, might keep the dogs in, all the stuff.
Or might keep the nosy neighbors curious.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's where the razor wire might come in too. I mean, if you want to have the thieves be kept out too. I mean, but low enough that the deer can still hop over it.
Yes.
Low enough for the deer, high enough for the people. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
Just put in a deer crossing sign. People won't cross, the deer can.
Well, that's right. That's right. Just like a gun-free zone or something, right?
Yeah.
People
That's
respect
how that
that.
Sure.
See here, cameras. So if you really want to go full out, we're gonna LARP a bit here, but if it was my bug out location and I was getting all worked up and worried about people taking my stuff, I'd want to have some IR cameras mounted up, just like you would for a good house setup, but also for a bug out location, as long as you have the ability to power them.
Cheap and easy. Yep. They don't draw much power.
No,
they really don't. Like an average solar panel can power 4 or 5 cameras. They don't draw anything. If you have a setup where you can run Wi-Fi from your bug out location, then you can even see it in real time. So even if you're not there, which works for scouting for hunting property too, right? If you know you've got deer coming through on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's like amped up game cameras. Same idea, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Last thing I had was if you have the option to get your property and then build a house on it, or build a bug out location of some sort, consider using ICF, which is insulated concrete forms, because a little pricier to start with, but easy to build with. It's like Lego blocks, and the R value on those things is out of hand to the point where if you had your wood stove, you'd be able to heat the whole house quite easily, and you'd be a little more fuel efficient on your fuel. So something to think about.
Yep. More than a
Not have to
little.
worry about it burning down.
Yeah, definitely not. More than a little more expensive, but it's definitely definitely has a lot of advantages to it.
Well, there's a payoff there, right? Because if you do have to bug out wintertime, I mean, instead of being in a tent, man, if you were in an ICF house, you'd be like sitting there with your feet up and, you know, pour yourself a little whiskey while everybody else is like turning blue. So,
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. Yeah, like I said, it's not cheap, but I mean, you can do it yourself because it is that simple, and there's like no shortage of videos out there on it. And yeah, I just think it's a neat little building material, and as long as you get the foundation right, you're good to go.
It's fantastic. Yep, and you're building it once.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
exactly. It's even termite proof and ant proof pretty much, and everything else.
Well, yeah, because it's concrete. There's nothing for them to eat.
No, concrete and foam, right? So I mean, that's all it is.
Until we get the termites that like concrete
Or foam, maybe.
or
I don't know.
foam.
Yeah.
But I mean, between them, I'd rather lose the foam than the concrete. But I mean, that's going to be like August of 2020. We get the murder hornets now. Then we're going to get the sharks with laser beams on their heads in May.
Yep.
Something or for June. Something we're not sure yet for July. And then August is going to be the termites that eat concrete.
The worst part is
August will be all those things mate, and then we get the termites.
this year's not even half over yet. I'm kind of like, this has really, really been bad. So
Yep.
anyway,
The apocalypse started off slow, but it's been gaining steam.
yeah. Remember the good old days we just had to worry about like World War III breaking out back in January or something. Now we're worried about the economy imploding and a bunch of other stuff too. Anyways, yeah. So steel roof. To make Alan happy too, I got to make sure my house is a little bit fire resistant. So preferably a steel roof versus asphalt shingles because of fire hazards and obviously long life of the roof, lower maintenance. But slate siding, like some sort of rock based or like even river rock or whatever siding on the side of the house, so you can actually like not have to worry about everything catching fire all the time.
Yeah,
that of course you don't need that if you're building ICF, and brick also works.
Yeah, brick,
yep. But yes, absolutely. Those are making your house as fire resistant as possible. For the same reason, I mean, if you built your house out of if your home is ICF, then you don't really have to worry about your bug out location for forest fires. I mean, you wouldn't want to be there. You wouldn't want to be inside during one, like as it blows over. But you're gonna have a place to go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the nice thing is the steel roof too. It's pretty easy to set up like a water catchment system, and there's a lot less junk coming off the roof. And so when you do have the eaves troughs off the steel roof, you're getting a lot less the asphalt single bits that are coming in there and everything else. And it's much easier to keep clean, and yeah, it's pretty slick setup.
Way cleaner. Yep.
Yeah.
An airfield and heliport. That's fantastic.
You said I could just fantasize, so
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like a full-on airport per se, but like a little 1,000-foot strip to put your little like ultralight or something in and out there. Because if you're gonna bug out, you got to bug out on the wing, right? So
you need something for your drone, right?
Yeah, and the drone needs a heliport because it has to return to home to a certain point. And if you want buddies to come by that maybe could come in with a helicopter or something, you want to be welcoming, right?
Your friends are way cooler than my friends.
Yeah.
But I mean, the ultralight is actually it makes good sense. I mean, an ultralight with a big enough gas can, you can get hundreds of miles with that. Yep. You don't have to fly high. It's an easy enough license to get. You can actually buy kits to make your own, to build your own. Like they're bolt together items. Yeah,
actually, like gyrocopters, little mini one-person helicopters, ultralights, everything else. There's a lot of them you can build yourself now, and are like less than $30,000. So it's like. It's actually kind of an option nowadays. Like if you think what you spend on a truck, and
true.
So, anyways, I just thought, at least have an option for somebody. Like, but if you're on if you're on a lake, I mean, somebody on the full plane come and pop in anytime too, right?
Oh man, the resurgence of the de Havilland beaver, right?
Oh, that would be nice. and actually got the first electrified beaver here on the Vancouver here. They got Harbour Air decided to do their first completely electric one, so battery and electric motor, and they're trying to promote their green footprint or whatever. And so that's the thing now. Anyway, that's all I had.
That's that covers a fair bit. We talked about most of the things in my on my list. I also said a nice big shop for everything, including hydroponics. I would probably bury a sea can under the shop just so that I mean, I had a place to go and hang out, and it would be my man cave and my last resort. I would add propane if I could for heating as a secondary option. I would use it as a secondary option, not a primary.
That's a good point.
And I would say, elevated enough to avoid floods, and away from the road enough that your lights can't be seen, and at least 100 feet all around that's flat, so that you can always see people or see whatever's coming at you.
That's a good point, because the propane lasts forever, right? Like, it stores forever.
Yep.
So that's a good fuel source, and it burns clean, so there's not a telltale smoke sign, which is also a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's quote unquote cheap to buy, but it's there anyways, and it's easy to store for sure.
Well, it's easy to store. It's a really quick if everything has gone wrong and it's minus 30 when I'm arriving, I don't have to wait for the fuel to get hot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you mentioned the floods thing. That's a good point too, because I mean, people in the prairies that live in the Red River floodplain or whatever, it is a thing. So you got to have that raised berm for your house and everything else. And
yeah, absolutely.
Because you got to pay attention to that, because that's might only happen once every 100 years, but knowing my luck, that'll be the time I'm there. So
well, but that once in a 100-year thing is why you have this property in the first place, right? So
yeah.
And I mean, in terms of general location, you want to be able to get there. So we've talked about whether you stay or go. I think that was the last episode, is whether to bug in or bug out. Where you go, I mean, the property that Ian's describing, the closest place for me is probably 9 hours away. I'm not getting there on one gas tank. I would have to go through Toronto or through the GTA to get there. That's not happening in an emergency. I refuse. So I've got to make some concessions based on that. What do I give up to avoid having to go through the pinch point there? But also when you're landscaping your property, we talked about having trees for shade and the southern exposure, but also plant hawthorns all the way around. I think we were talking about that last episode, right? With the hawthorns, you have nice big spikes, and if you plant nice dense bushes all the way around, you're going to control your entry points, and only those entry points are going to get used, because nobody wants to go through that stuff. It's pretty nasty.
Unless they come in by heliport.
Unless they come in by helicopter.
You beat me to it.
Yeah. But, very good point on that. Actually, and you raised a good point. If you have the sea can underneath your shop or whatever, that's where you can cache all your stuff in the meantime. So if you have to, have a stripped out truck with just like a driving fuel can, you don't have to worry about bringing everything with you. It's nice to have everything pre-placed and not easy to find for the thieves that might be hanging around your property when you're not there, right?
Absolutely. And you can stock that from the inside, so it's you pull in, you close your garage door, and nobody can see what you're doing under there. So if you've got a covered vehicle, then as you're stocking that up, it doesn't take much to make a single access in the floor pretty heavily fortified and camouflage your vent. If you were going to do that, I would say heat it only by propane instead of wood, because wood underground just doesn't seem like a very good idea to me. Nope. But have it well ventilated and all that good stuff. But I think, again, that's an entire episode into itself, is underground bug out shelters. But have it. You can do that and have it well camouflaged, and if you've poured a foundation around it, you can bury it as deep as you want.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's about all I've got. I also said low voltage LED lighting throughout the house, so you can run that off your battery bank and your solar / turbine, like wind turbine / waterfall paddle wheel system can charge your battery banks and run your low voltage LED lighting from inside the house.
Well, yeah, I mean, even in your regular house, you should be running LEDs. I'm sure everybody should be by now, because just the power savings alone with Ontario Hydro the way it is for you guys and everything else.
Yep.
But I mean, like Alan said, if you've got like a combo system, whether it be wind, solar, micro hydro, whatever, I mean, something's going to be like producing power at that point at any point during the day or night. Like micro hydro runs 24/7, but it freezes in winter, obviously, so you have to rely on your wind and solar when you can. And it doesn't take a whole lot of power to keep the LEDs on overnight.
Yeah, and specifically low voltage. So, like, yes, I've run LEDs all through my house, but they're still running off 120.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like the
the
12
emergency lighting. Yeah,
Yeah.
just run it on 12 volts, so you can run it off a battery bank. Put the battery bank on, run the batteries in series, so you've got in parallel, so you've got a larger volume of watts available, and then you've got lighting under the worst conditions for quite some time.
Anything
for
else,
me,
guys?
for me, my setup, I would say I want something close to home, so I'm not doing the 9-hour trek trying to skirt through the city or get far. You want something within a couple hours, I think would be reasonable. And same thing, something with some fresh water. It doesn't necessarily have to be a lake or something like that, but a stream coming through it or something, so I've got some form of water, because obviously that's going to be important. I like the idea of flat land, so you've got plenty of room around, so you can see who's coming, who's going. Getting those big bushes set up, maybe something to whack down a drone. So if that nosy neighbor decides to fly the drone over, you can
get those things that shoot a net and they can just capture it or whatever.
That'd be good.
I mean, rock salt with 12 gauge, but
I was gonna say 12 gauge.
Yeah,
just do it. All you gotta do is take out one prop, and there's 4 of them, right? So I mean, you're good to go.
Then you got yourself a drone.
That's right.
And then you can put it around and you can spy on the neighbor yourself. Yeah, so I like those types of setups. Something, like I said, something closer by, and something that can be used in normal times. I touched on that earlier, but something that you can go out to and use during normal times. And it kind of has two reasons to have it. Then you can get away from everyday life at it, but you can also kind of slowly stock it up and have it ready for a shit at the fan type of situation, which helps out with, like we touched on, knowing the land, knowing the area, and knowing what you've got there. I would say solar power of some sort would be a big thing for me, just to have the lighting and have some form of power available, but have some kind of a backup as well in case it doesn't work, because there's going to be days where you don't have sun, right?
Well, it depends on where you live in Canada, right? Like around Medicine Hat, you get like 330 days of sun a year, versus like on the West Coast here, I would say not as many.
Yeah,
and so
you get 330 days of rain a year.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like going all autism on the microhydras, because we've got water, like, and tons of it. So even if I just had like a a collection tank and a little dribble going off, running a little mini turbine, that's the thing, right? Whereas like it might not work in a place like southern Saskatchewan where they go dry for like 9 months of the year and stuff. So it all depends on where you live too.
Yeah, and a proper washroom setup would be something I would want in my bug out location, because
but why
you need. Well, I'll refer you to the sanitation episode.
Well, didn't Matt Damon grew potatoes in his own poop on the Martian there? I mean, come on.
Well, hey, you know what? If times get that bad, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm growing potatoes on my own poop. It's just it's not happening. Sorry.
There is a way to compost your human waste, but it's like a multi-year process, from what I recall. I learned about it once. It was not worth the effort, frankly, for all but the most destitute. Somebody was telling me about it. They were using a setup in Haiti after the hurricane blew through there a few years ago, and it was like it took 2 years to make it safe for humans to consume the products from within the compost. So,
well, it's the same thing. Like I think the old ancient Mayans used to do it too, but they also had a jungle climate where it like broke down in the space of a few months. Whereas here, it's like not quite the same in Canada. You get like the poopsicles from the dogs are bad enough. I mean, you can only imagine the human stuff, right?
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yep, there we go. Yeah, so refer back to the sanitation episode about why that's not necessarily a great idea, but why you definitely need a place for it to go. Because I mean, one of the first books I remember reading was Everybody Poops.
That's true.
Yep. And you don't want to contaminate your water source or your well by not handling that properly.
No, definitely not.
And you can refer to the Mood Jarhead for an alternative.
And security would be another thing that I'd want to build into my my bug out location. Obviously, it's important for all kinds of different reasons, but something I'd want to have on lock pretty quick. So that'd be a high priority when I'm setting it up.
Well, security can come in the form of cameras, but also like-minded individuals, and just because you got to sleep sooner or later too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Good doors, good locks, good landscaping, lots of thorny things.
A couple dogs, they always will let you know if something's going on.
Absolutely. Yep. I think we've done an episode on dogs too, haven't we?
So.
Yep. Yeah, and so those are all good things. Now, Computer Geek, maybe you can help me. My internet currently comes through a SIM card in my modem that connects to a tower that then connects out to the rest of the world.
Yep.
In the absence of that, is there a true satellite internet option that doesn't require a cell tower somewhere nearby?
The only satellite option I know of still relies on telephone line to do I believe it's the upload. So the downloading is done via satellite, and the uploading, I believe, is done via telephone. Or it could be the reverse. But I don't know of one that's strictly all satellite. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Maybe it's just not available consumer side of the world. But
I'm just thinking about being in a remote location and having access to your cameras. Wi-Fi would be a nice thing. Would be nice insurance if you could have your cameras going and they set off your motion alerts and stuff. So
yeah, that would be nice. I don't know if it would have enough bandwidth doing the satellite thing to feed a bunch of cameras, but the technology is a lot better than it used to be too. So
yeah, maybe something we should investigate for next episode.
Yeah.
Find out about that. Okay. That's about all I got.
Yeah, I think that's my list. And
Cool. All right, time for the podcast challenge.
I think so.
So before moving to your next or buying your first location, consider what you would call your must-haves for the property. Ideally, don't settle for less, but we all know it's not an ideal world, so I guess prioritize. So I guess what I'm saying is make a list of what you need in your bug-out location and try and stick to it as best you can.
At minimum, you need a helipad.
The helipad should be number one.
Yeah.
And like
Minimum.
at least 3,000 foot runways on different angles depending on the wind.
Wow.
Yes,
Basically,
that's
everybody
important.
in the area.
Crosswind landings are tough, man.
All right, let's move into some upcoming events.
We don't know about what's actually happening in the rest of the world for the rest of the year, but as of right now, TACCOM Canada 2020 is still happening September 11th to 13th. And if that still happens, then the Canadian Pro Gun Podcasters Network will be in attendance with all of your favorite podcasters, and us will be there throughout the show. So you can stop by the booth, meet your favorites, pick up some swag. We will definitely have Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirts if you don't buy them all from us now at rapidsurvival.com. Get your tickets through the link in the show notes. And make sure you come see us at TACCOM Canada. That's, of course, fingers crossed it still happens.
Yep. So far, I think that's the only one that has not canceled, and I think he's holding fast on that one because basically, if he doesn't cancel, he's going to be like Diamond Jim when it comes to people showing up because everybody else will have some pent up spending ability, and then they'll show up there and.
Well, and everybody will just be so desperate to get out for a couple of days because everything else has been canceled. I mean, every outdoor concert, every major event has been canceled for now until probably Christmas.
The only problem is all the guns will be banned.
Yeah, but there's so much more cool stuff than just guns at TACCOM. Like,
it's like
even without the guns, it's still a cool time. Like,
we can watch videos about guns at least, I guess.
Talk about plate carriers and radios and flashlights.
I'm fully planning on buying a new med bag when I'm there.
There you go. Yeah,
exactly. All right.
And I'm sure we'll be doing Stop the Bleed classes, and there'll be all kinds of cool stuff there.
Nice.
Oh yeah, because Gavin was going to do one of the podcaster charity shoots, so I'm sure if somebody wants to do a Stop the Bleed, and they're going to be in Toronto for that. I'm sure if you contacted Ragnarok Tactical or Alan here,
I'll do it. Yeah,
I was going to say somebody can do a Stop the Bleed course for you.
Absolutely. Whether it's Ragnarok, whether it's me, we will make sure that Stop the Bleed is doable at TACCOM, providing TACCOM happens.
Yeah.
Everybody out there, let's make TACCOM happen. Okay, let's focus on that. That's my holdout for an actual civilization.
All right, let's move into shoutouts.
All right, I got one for the traveling prepper. I forgot to mention that and what I did for preps this week, but I managed to meet up with him, and we had another little convo, which was good. So, yeah, it's always good to chat with another like-minded individual. So but this time I did it at his place versus on the island here. So,
Nice.
That's cool.
yeah.
I got nothing. I've been in isolation. I haven't spoken with anybody this week. So
Well, there you go.
Is your place of employment shut down besides the volunteer stuff?
no. I mean, I work from home 90% of my day anyways.
Okay.
90% of my week, and then
most of my so some of my training has been postponed, but not shut down. We're just transferring it from, one class a week to being like 10 classes a week for them, for 6 weeks as we start to catch up. But most of what I service in my day-to-day life is the construction industry, which saw a little bit of a shift, but not a full shutdown. So I changed focus a little bit. Pivoting has been the buzzword around here, but didn't actually shut down at all.
Yeah, well, it's actually like Home Depot and those guys have actually had better business than ever because like
Absolutely.
people trying to fix stuff at their house because they got the time to do it. So
100%. I mean, they've made it so easy to order online, which is great. They send me an email when it's ready. I drive into town, I pick it up, I bring my stuff home, I do my thing here. I genuinely hope that's how I do business going forward. I hate going into those stores and having to be stuck behind people that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So from a shopping perspective, I haven't stopped buying things. Maybe I'm part of the problem.
I just don't like people, so I don't have to deal with people. I just go pick stuff up and go home.
That's I don't think that curbside pickup's disappearing anytime soon because that's become
I
way
certainly
too
hope
easy.
not. It's great. Like I make a, if I can't get it delivered by Amazon Prime, or if I want it faster, I can order it from Canadian Tire or Walmart. I pull up, they scan the barcode on my phone, and they get my order. Like, it's so fast and easy. I love it.
Freya brings up a good point there. 2020 is basically canceled. I'm like,
yeah, we're gonna get a do-over next year. That's I'm good with that.
Bring on 2021.
Yep,
I'm done with 2020.
Yeah, we're just gonna hibernate for the rest of the year and then start again.
Oh. All right, let's move into some email and iTunes reviews. So we are up to 54 5 stars. We got 5 4 stars, 2 3 stars, 1 2 star, and that 1 star keeping us honest.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so appreciate everybody sending in the reviews. Keep them coming because it certainly helps out. And we have an email that came in not between now and last episode, but the one before, because I missed last episode. But I will read it out here, and then we can discuss it amongst the panel. So it starts out with, "Hello, gentlemen." I don't know if
he doesn't know us so well at all.
Nope. But okay. Maybe this panel, the three of us, I think, count. So, it says, "Over the past couple of weeks, I've been re-listening to older episodes, and I've realized that I completed a podcast challenge from the episode about gear we keep in our vehicles."
Fantastic.
So I started off by making a list of things that most YouTube channels about RVing carried with them as far as tools and parts. That I added more legitimate emergency supplies to said list. I drive a 3/4 ton crew cab, 6 foot by 6 box. And in the bed, I have a large toolbox, which helps me with storage. In the cab, I have the smallest Rubbermaid action packer for the things that I need closer to me in case of problems, plus several items mounted throughout the cab. In the cab, I have mounted under the central dash area my VHF radio with several highway channels, LADD 1 to 4, and the RR channels that are used here in BC. Inside the rear driver's side door, I mounted 2-pound ABC fire extinguisher. In the action packer, which is wedged between the center console and the back seat. Instead of listing off everything, I'll just share with you a list, and if there's anything I'm missing, please let me know. On the list near the end, it says traction aid, and what that is a 5-gallon bucket with cat litter, road salt, and gravel all mixed together. He signs it off Fish, and I couldn't get the list into the show notes here, but I do have it on my screen. So I don't know if I can even maybe share my screen and then everybody can see it, but just see if I can do that. And of course, I close the screen off here.
Way to go, computer nerd.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you know what? Can't be good all the time. So let's see here.
And if I'm not mistaken, Skeleton in a River Productions is saying that this is his email. So if that is you, fantastic. Thanks so much for sending that in, and hopefully we can see this email somewhere soon.
Yeah, so here it is.
There it is. Oh, I can't read that.
So I can't make it much bigger, unfortunately.
There we go. Makes my screen bigger. I can see it.
There we go. So here is the list, along with, you'll see here in the inbox, some job applications. Sorry, guys, I'm still not clicking those. I don't need ransomware.
Well, you're no fun at all.
Yeah, I know. That's, so here's what we've got on the list of items here for the RV and pickup tools. So we've got a level, a socket set, long arm ratchet, screwdrivers, cordless drill, wrenches, needle nose pliers, regular pliers, vice grips, claw hammer, utility knife, drill bits, and it goes on. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. It's actually a really good list. It covers off pretty much everything. So
The only thing I didn't see was fuses for this truck, but
yes, that's a good point.
You've got your first aid kit there. Do you also have, since you happen to be watching Skeleton in River /Fish, do you also have a like a tourniquet or an IFAC that's within arm's reach?
kind of like a blowout bag.
Yeah, your blowout bag, just like strapped to your visor, seat, like headrest back, something like that, so you can grab that first if need be.
Oh, there's the fuses.
There's fuses.
All right, and then the other thing was going to say the emergency window breaker hammer thingy, but I didn't see that either.
Yeah, I don't know if that was in here.
There it is, window punch.
Yep.
Seatbelt cutter. I see it.
Yep.
Man, he's got it.
Look at that.
Okay.
He's got it all. It's all here. It's a good list, actually. I like this. There's
Great
lots,
list.
lots of good stuff here. Yeah. And then the whole idea with the cat litter as well. That's great. I carry some in my truck as well.
Especially with the salt built in, so it gives a little more melt action and a little more gription.
Yep.
Like
I don't have a 5-gallon bucket. I use a couple of freezer size Ziploc bags, and kind of the same thing. Sand and I don't have cat litter. I just use sand and salt together. But that's a great list.
Yeah.
Just my note there about the blow up bag. But that's can't think of much else to add to it than this.
Yeah, I like having the IFAC. I've got one just around the passenger side headrest, and it's got a couple tourniquets handy, like right away, and just some little things that you might need in a oh shit kind of situation right away that you don't want to be digging for. But
something I did notice is that you've got like the battery booster pack and jumper cables. You've got those complementary redundancies there. I think that's really important to note that you've got you've got more than one of the really important stuff.
Yeah. Because of course, as soon as you go to use that battery pack, it's going to be dead.
Yeah,
it's the way it goes. Murphy's Law.
Or I used one. I had one and lent it to somebody, and it came back, and all of a sudden it didn't work anymore. So, they short out without giving much notice, things like that. So,
I like the glow sticks here. Those are handy on all kinds of different levels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good list. I like it.
It's a great list. Yep. The only other thing I don't see there is a sharpener for your knife and your axe, but it might be there, and I just can't see it.
Good point.
Yep.
See there, but great list. Thanks for sending it in. Appreciate it. If you don't mind, I'll share it out on the website, but I won't share it out until I hear from you that it's okay to put a post on the website with this list here. Cool. And that was it.
That's all I got.
Anybody else have anything else to throw on that list?
Nope.
All right. Well, with that, will bring episode number 68 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to the end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or, of course, your favorite podcast app. Please help us out. Submit a review. Yes, even if it's a 1-star, send her in. It helps other people find us. Unless it's a 1-star, that doesn't help people.
And if you do leave us a review, right? If you leave us any kind of a star review, please leave us a note. I mean, if there's something we need to improve on, and I mean, audio's been a fairly common theme throughout those improvement notes. We love to hear it. I mean, that's how we get better and provide better content to you, and that's why we do this. So let us know what's up, what you like, what you don't. We do record these shows live on Facebook and YouTube. If you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast, and click the notifications tab. As you've heard throughout the episode here, we do love the feedback during the show. Certainly helps make life easier for us, and it's certainly a little bit more entertaining. You can find me directly on Instagram at ppswo or by email, Alan with 1L at prepperpodcast.ca.
All right, you can reach Ian directly by emailing me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. And you can also find me on Canadian Patriot Podcast on iTunes and YouTube. There you can find us discussing why government waste in society make me wish I had deeper soil to bury stuff in.
Or your next bug out location.
Yeah, maybe next time.
All right. And please check out Rapid Survival at rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there on the live chat while you are buying some prepper gear, which, again, is slowly coming back in the stock. You can also email me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. So thanks for joining us. And until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
And keep learning.